What is good, YouTube? So recently I got in the shape of my life and I did zero cardio to get us there. So the main focus to get me in shape was having a really good diet. So in this video, I'm going to cover the exact diet that I used and why, so you can simply just copy it, adjust it to your macros, and hopefully get the same result. And I'm even going to do you a solid. I'm going to give you a full cost breakdown and talk through how I would adjust it as I went through the process. So let's jump into it. We're going to start with breakfast because your boy is starving. So meal number one, we have a bowl of protein oats. Now for this, we've got 50 grams of oats, 35 grams of whey protein, 100 grams of blueberries, and 10 grams of peanut butter. Now, I'm a big fan of fasting when it comes to fat loss, if you feel you can manage that and you feel you can push that first meal back. And it's not that it's magic by any means, but what you're able to do if you push that first meal back is just shorten your eating window. So if you're someone that gets really hungry later on at the night, I would typically try and push this meal back as far as you can. However, me personally, I really can't function unless I have a decent breakfast, and when I've got check-ins or a heavy work block first thing in the morning, I really just need a good meal. So I'll typically have this and it'll set us back a good 3 to potentially 4 hours before I need another meal. Again, just because you get a good amount of carbohydrates, which are very, very satiating. The protein, again, very, very satiating, but having a little bit of fat in there as well just helps slow the release of these nutrients into the bloodstream, into the body, which again just helps with that satiation and fullness aspect. So meal number one, protein oats. Right, pre-workout meal. So we're going with 50 grams of bread, 15 grams of peanut butter, and then a little bit of pink salt on there as well. The reason we're putting the pink salt on this, if you haven't tried it, try it. It absolutely bangs, but it just helps with nutrient transportation. And the reason we're going with the peanut butter on the bread here, rather than something like jam or honey, which will be a fantastic choice, because really when you are training pre-workout, you want to have a high influx of carbohydrates because it'll help with energy to perform within the session. And the whole goal of a fat loss phase is, yes, you want to get the fat off, but training performance really needs to prioritize. So when that fat comes off, you've actually got a good physique to show for it. But the reason we have the fat in there is I'm not going to train for probably about another 40 to 45 minutes. So by having that peanut butter on there, it helps slow the release of carbohydrates into the bloodstream. So it gives us a little bit more of a sustained energy source throughout the session. Whereas if I was literally just about to smash this in and go straight to the gym, I probably would drop the peanut butter and I would probably put some jam or some honey on there, and that's what I would do. So yeah, I'm gonna smash this now and I'm gonna get back to check-ins, but I thought I'd show you this fella before we move on to the next clip, because look at this. This is just shy of 12 weeks work. Bearing in mind he's changed 2 jobs in the process as well. Left, a guy who's trained for 2 years. As you can tell, he's got a good amount of muscle mass, but he's carrying too much body fat, doesn't really have the physique he wanted. 12 weeks in, well, just shy of 12 weeks into it, his chest doubled in size, arms, absolute cannons on the lad, delta massive, and the most important thing for him, he's got his abs. So you can see his abs have came in really, really nicely here. We've got 3 more weeks to land this, and then we're pushing him up into a gaining phase, but what a result for James, the boy. Right team, post-workout. Now this is probably my favourite meal of the day. So what we've got here is Greek yogurt, 0% fat. This is pretty ass on its own. So what you need to do here is slap this in the bowl. I don't really know why I'm weighing this out because I know exactly how much is in here based off the tub. But this doesn't taste too good on its own. So what I want to do here is just mix in a little bit of protein. So you tear it. You always tear it when you're changing your products. When you're making a recipe. So I want protein. Now I don't need too much because there's already a decent amount of protein in the Greek yogurt anyways. So I'm looking for about 25 grams of whey protein. Would you fancy that? Exactly 25 grams. And then what you want to do here is just mix this bad boy up so it becomes a little bit of a whey yogurty paste. And then once you've got this all mixed up, the main event goes in. Now normally I would probably use Cocoa Pops here, but out here in Dubai, you basically got to take a mortgage to get out a box of cereal, which is pretty wild. So we're just going to go with good old Sabi cocoa balls. And then we're going to go in and put 50 grams of these bad boys in. Now it's going to be a fat ass bowl this. 50 grams going in. And that is the post-workout meal. It doesn't look sexy, it doesn't look appetizing, but I'll tell you what, it tastes sublime. And the reason why I've chose these foods here is essentially when you've trained, your body is the best at absorbing nutrients. So you want to have fast digesting foods going into your system. So we've got fast digesting protein, Greek yogurt as well, and then we've got a fast acting carb source such as cereal. And ideally you want like a light one like this. You want to avoid things like crunchy nut clusters and like bran flakes and things like that, which will take quite a while to digest and have a high fat content. Because if you notice with this meal here, it's incredibly low fat, pretty much almost zero. And the reason for that is, do you know how I mentioned in the last clip where we had peanut butter on the toast to help slow the release of the nutrients? Whereas right now, that is one thing we want to completely avoid. We don't want to have slow release of nutrients. We want to optimize basically getting this into the body as fast as possible. So we want to remove fats altogether out of this meal, but I'm going to enjoy this one. So going on to meal number 3 now, and one of the best pieces of advice I can give you if you're someone who cannot stand the thought of prepping multiple meals with multiple different ingredients, will be to switch your mindset from meal prepping to ingredient prepping. So what I've done here is I've got some 5% mince. I'm only going to have 200 grams worth today. So instead of just prepping for this one single meal, I've prepped an absolute mountain's worth of it so I can have it when I need it. And then same again for these potatoes. So with this, I kind of already know exactly how much that I'm going to have and how much I'm going to take out the tub. And it's literally as simple as, right, I've got this prepared, I stick it on the scale, tear it to 0, right, and then I know I need 165 grams. Probably going to be able to get a bit of a better scoop than a fork. And all I've got to simply do is just take out 165 grams, which is the equivalent of 300 grams raw. When it decides to come out, drop that, just use my hands. There we go, keep that there. Like, how simple was that? So I've got my potato out and I've got my broccoli in here as well. So that's what this meal is going to be. Beef mince, potato and broccoli. Now I know exactly how much I need here as well. So I need 80 grams. That's 90, 82, that'll do. And then it's as simple as, like, if I was to ever want this meal again later on today, I can just take out what I need, or I can obviously use it for tomorrow as well. I mean, you can go one step further and tuck it into each individual kind of box that I have, and spread it out across the days, which is also sweet. But 9 times out of 10, the thing what people struggle with the most on a diet is literally protein. So at the very, very least, if you're someone who works like a busy job, that you travel for work, or something like that, whatever your excuse is, prep your protein. Then it's as simple as, oh, I don't know what to have today. Right, no worries, mate. I'll just take the mince out of the fridge, or the chicken, whatever it is, put it in a couple of sandwiches, put it in a wrap, and then you're going to hit your protein in a nice, easy way. So essentially, this is meal number 3. 5% fat mince, 300 grams of potatoes, and some broccoli. And the best thing about this is potatoes are literally the most satiating carb source you can get, and they're so voluminous as well. Like for the same amount of calories of rice, you're probably looking at literally half the portion. So I would definitely, when you're on a fat loss phase, try and get at least one meal a day in with kind of centered around potatoes, whether it's sweet potato, white potato. I always opt for white. You'll just make your life so much easier. So guys, final meal of the day. And I lied to you before about one of the meals being my favorite. So the cereal and yogurt does slap, especially after a workout. But chicken wraps, you just can't beat a chicken wrap, especially when you have two at the end of the day. So in here, we've got 200 grams of chicken, 150 grams of peppers, 100 grams of onions, some fajita seasoning. I would like to put some cheese in there, but don't have the macros for it, and just a little bit of sriracha sauce, 2 Big Daddy white wraps, and I'm going to enjoy this. Like this right here, if you have this on an evening before you go to bed, it's just the key to sticking to a diet. Now, if you don't like wraps and you're a bit of a weirdo, you can easily swap this out for a different carb source. You could easily have some more potato like we had earlier in the video. You can have some rice, you can have some pasta, whatever floats your boat for the carb source. But me, I just find normally I will be sitting watching some TV with Harriet, or just trying to chill out with a couple of wraps in my hand. Really does the job, especially when you're in a fat loss phase. Right, it wouldn't be a full day of eating if I didn't talk through supplements, because every single time I get a client on board, one of the first questions that they ask is, Zach, what supplements should I take? And I'm not someone who leans on them too much, because the key is literally in the name, supplement. They're there to supplement an already well-balanced training nutritional protocol. So if you don't have them in check, then popping a few pills, having a few scoops of powder just really isn't going to do anything. However, if they're on lock, they do play a very, very small role in helping you get to where you want to. Now, kicking it off with protein. I don't really class this as a supplement because it's pretty much just food. However, if you're someone who doesn't have the time to prepare all the meals that you saw in this video, first and foremost, I'd say have a look at yourself in the mirror and manage your time better. However, if for whatever reason you haven't had much time, then having a few scoops of this on a night time will help you hit your protein target. Or if you're someone who doesn't really want a heavy breakfast, having something like a shake or like a yogurt bowl like you saw in this video with a couple of scoops in just helps massively. Then we have multivitamin. Again, if you're someone who doesn't get much veg in the diet, I tell you to grow up. However, you know, these are really good for health. Then we have pre-workout. Out of everything here, this is the one that I recommend the least. But if you find that, you know, you're going to the gym on the morning and you're really, really tired and you don't really like coffee or anything like that, some pre-workout helps massively. Nighttime supplement, calcium and magnesium. Then later on in the diet, when your calories does tend to go lower, what I'm going to talk through in another clip, you're not going to get as much fiber. So having some probiotics or super enzymes are just really good at helping the digestive side of things, because you'll find that as you go near the back end of the diet, you can't go to the toilet as frequently, so popping a few of them helps. Now, this is a supplement that I never really used to take. However, I've become very, very reliant on it, especially out here in Dubai, because when you wake up, you're very, very dehydrated. And if you're someone who trains first thing on a morning, I couldn't recommend enough having some electrolytes. Now, you don't have to have this specific one, you can just get some powder, but having it and hydrating yourself before you go to the gym, first thing, fasted on a morning, is massive, because if you're dehydrated, you're not going to be very strong, and it's not going to be good for muscle building at all. So having some of this first thing on the morning or pre-workout whenever it is you train, or even just first thing on the morning, even if you aren't training, will help hydrate you and start your day off well. Then we have some fish oil. So I don't really have much oily fish. I don't really like it that much. So having some fish oil is good for heart health and a lot of other functions. And then what you can't see, this is creatine. I just pulled the sticker off because it looked minging. Creatine, most widely researched supplement. Now, a lot of people think that this is going to be like a steroid, and as soon as you have it, you're just going to get absolutely massive. It's not the case. However, it is quite difficult to get creatine through food. So having a powder, having about 5 to 7 grams a day will help massively with muscular endurance, muscular strength, and a lot of other factors as well. You will see on the back of this, it'll say have a loading phase, where if you have like 20 to 25 grams a day over a 5-day period, it'll saturate within the muscle a lot quicker. You can do that. However, I found, which is just a lot less confusing for a lot of my guys, just have 5 to 7 grams per day. It doesn't really matter when you have it, you'll be absolutely sweet. And that's all the supplements I recommend. There is other ones out there, but if I could give you my top 3 fundamental ones that I recommend, it would be, again, I don't really class this as a supplement, but this will be number 1, just for argument's sake. But then the other 3 I would recommend would be, I can't remember the labels, a fish oil, a multivitamin, and creatine. The rest of these, I would just buy depending on what your budget allows you to. So team, a rundown of the video. So the total calories that we ended up with for the day was 2,277, 190 grams of protein, 284 grams of carbs, and 46 grams of fat. And I wouldn't be doing you guys justice if I didn't tell you guys how to work it out and apply it for yourself. But the reasoning why we went with 190 grams of protein is typically what I like to run is around about 1 gram per pound of body weight. You can have a sliding scale of around 0.8 to 1.2 grams per pound of body weight. And I'm someone who prefers to lean on that higher side just when you're dieting to really try and optimize the muscle building process and hold on to as much muscle tissue as you can as you go through the dieting process. Then I typically like to run baseline fats around about 40 to 60 grams per person is typically what works best. And I like to go on that lower end so I can fill the rest of my calories with as many carbohydrates as I can. Purely because I love carbs. Carbs is life, carbs is fuel. But as I just said there, carbohydrates is fuel. It breaks down and you can use it for energy a lot more efficiently than you can for protein and you can for fats. And when you're going through a dieting process, you really want to try and optimize your training performance so you can, like I said, retain as much muscle as possible or try and build muscle whilst you're using fat, especially in them early stages. Then the total cost breakdown for the entire day is only £8.71. That's pretty much the cost of a meal deal these days. So £8.71. And I got all of the meals that you saw in the video today. And if you want to be even tighter and save yourself even more money, you can get rid of the blueberries or you can get rid of the fresh ones and use frozen ones in with your oats or just get rid of them altogether. And then for the dark chocolate that we used, because that was pretty pricey, you can get rid of that and just get a cheap peanut butter and it would do pretty much the exact same thing. Then when I come to the actual food choices, you can just get frozen meat. Yes, it's not going to taste as nice. Yes, it's not going to be as much quality, but you could probably get the full day to less than £6 a day, which you can't really put a price on health. But if you can put £6 per day on it, then you know you're onto a winner. Then in terms of when I would go about adjusting the calories, if let's just say you worked out them calories and you weren't losing weight, how I would get the needle moving within the scales is typically what I'll do is I'll pull away from carbohydrates. So protein will stay pretty much the same and very, very consistent as we go through the cut. Right near the back end, I might increase the protein ever so slightly just to really try and preserve muscle mass as a natural person. Obviously, if you're unnatural, that might be a different story. But typically what I would think about doing is pulling away anywhere from 20 to 50 grams of carbohydrates, depending on what you can tolerate, to get the needle moving on the scales. And again, the reason for taking away from the carbohydrates rather than protein and carbs, protein and fat, well, purely because protein is the only one that builds muscle, so you want to preserve it. In fats, you do need a certain amount just for hormone function. However, that being said, as you get really deep into the cut, you can start pulling away at that fat for a little while, but definitely when that cut's wrapped up, I will get them fats back up there. If you want help working out your calories, and this is still confusing for you, simply follow us on Instagram at Zach Jones, ZACK__Jones. Send us a message with the word calories and I'll help you work them out. Or if you also want a free meal plan, literally completely for free, the top link in the description, literally just click that, download it, and there's a fat loss meal plan in there for you, just adjusted to your calories and macros. Then if you've liked this video, you've took value from it, or you want to see more of them, simply like, subscribe, and drop a comment down below with any questions that you've got, and I'll get back to you.